Hey, welcome into another Whoosh Wednesday with me, Louie. Today I thought, hey, I love Star Wars. I don't think I've ever told everybody my top 5 favorite Star Wars books that I happen to own. So I thought I would share that today. But before I jump into that, let's get some of the housekeeping things out of the way. If you're enjoying the content on this channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're not enjoying it, please leave me a comment and let me know what you think I could do differently. I would greatly appreciate that. My plan is to try to constantly improve the channel in some form or fashion. If you watch some of the earlier videos, hopefully you've seen that improvement. So now that the housekeeping is out of the way, let's jump into my top 5 Star Wars books that I own. And of course, when I do a top 5 list, I always have to do a cheat a little bit. And this one is maybe more of a top 7. There's 2 honorable mentions that I will get into right now. The first one is Darth Maul #1 from 2017. This happens to be signed by the voice of Darth Maul from Clone Wars and Rebels, Sam Witwer, who is fantastic as a voice actor. I have not had the chance to meet him. I did pick this up from Harrison's Comics in Salem, Massachusetts. And it's awesome. He's actually one of the few people from Clone Wars that I haven't had the chance to meet yet. So he is on my list, and I fully hope to meet him. But it's pretty cool as a placeholder, considering I wanted him to sign my Clone Wars poster that's back there. But he hasn't come to a con in the area, and I haven't gone to a con near him. So we'll check it out. But this is definitely honorable mention #1. And saying that, oddly enough, honorable mention #2 also happens to be Darth Maul #2 from 2017 in that same run. And the reason this is probably my second favorite runner-up book is because it's the first appearance of Cad Bane. For anybody who doesn't know, Cad Bane is a infamous bounty hunter in the Star Wars universe. He appeared briefly in Book of Boba Fett. He appears throughout Clone Wars, and actually, spoiler, appears in Bad Batch. So he's a really, really cool character. I really, really enjoy him. And it's really cool to have his first appearance graded and in my collection. So very, very stoked. And honestly, all the Maul covers look amazing. It's a really, really good run too. So definitely check it out if you want to learn more about Darth Maul. There's also, I believe it's Son of Dathomir, which was a miniseries that was originally going to be incorporated into Clone Wars, but was adapted by Dark Horse right before Disney and Marvel took over the Star Wars stuff. So it's sort of canon, sort of not canon, but it's a really good read as well. So definitely go back and check that out. A really cool kind of book for the collection, and this is #5 on the list. So everybody wondering, #5 on the list is Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, #1/2. Not 1, #1/2. This was a mail-away book from Wizards, and it actually is the first comic book appearance of Padme, Qui-Gon, Anakin, and Jar Jar Binks. And yes, Anakin technically appears before this as Darth Vader, but this is the first Anakin as Anakin. But really cool that it was a mail-away. We happened to find it at a comic shop in Bristol, Rhode Island when we were going down there. Really, really cool about it too is that we went to Bristol Picture Frame Company to get some work done there by an amazing place that does awesome framing for pictures. So if you're ever in the Bristol, Rhode Island area, make sure to go and check them out. They're awesome. I cannot recommend them enough. But when we were stopping in there, they told us about the comic shop in town and how we had to check it out. And we'd been there a couple of times, and they told us every time we went. And this time we finally went, and we happened to find Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, 1/2. And my wife is a massive Padme fan. So we had to get this issue. And it's #5 on my list because I think it's really cool that it's a mail-away book. It's a Wizards book, 1/2. And it came back a 9.4 for a mail-away book. I'm not mad at all at that. That's really cool considering the history and the story behind it. So I just think it's awesome. And very, very stoked to have it in the collection. Now, #4 is going to feel like a cop-out solely because it's on the list purely for what it is. And it's a book I've mentioned on here before. It's Star Wars #1, and it's on the list heavily because it is the first book. It's really, really awesome to me. It's the first Luke, the first Leia, the first cover of Obi-Wan and Han Solo, the first Vader, first C-3PO, first R2, introduction to Stormtroopers. Grand Moff Tarkin is in it as well. So it's so many key Star Wars characters' first appearances. It's also a book I picked up from Nick's comic strip in Danvers, Mass. A black cover and a 9.0. And I love this book. I genuinely do. The fact that it has all of those characters and all of that is awesome. I absolutely love it, and I'm super stoked to have it in the collection. It's a piece of history to me, the first Star Wars comic book ever published, and to have that in the collection is clutch. To me, it makes my Star Wars collection complete, or as complete as it can be until I'm fully sure it's complete. But if it wasn't in the collection, my collection would constantly be incomplete. So I'm very, very stoked to have this one. And definitely, if you find one, pick it up. There's some that are reprints that are a little bit less expensive. I have one of those raw that that's a reader copy. So you can find this issue, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a first print. You can get the reprint, you can get some form of print. But if you're a Star Wars fan and you want to build a collection, I cannot recommend enough to find a copy of this book, whether reprint or first issue, first print. So very, very stoked to have this in the collection. Now, we're going to move away from some of those older books and into something a little bit more modern with book number 3. And book number 3 is Star Wars Darth Vader number 3 from 2015. Now, this book is clutch. It is the first appearance of Dr. Aphra, BT-1, and 000. And BT-1 and 000 are murder droids. They are psychotic. They're like the complete opposites of C-3PO and R2-D2. At one point, like, 000 has to explain to BT that no, they can't cover up a death with spontaneous human combustion because it's not a real thing. And it's fantastic. It's so good. And I don't know if you can tell from this video, but this is a second printing. We happened to buy it when it was a very, 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 very big and very speculated book. But that's okay. I'm very, very stoked for that. I love the second print cover. I love the red on it more than I actually like the first print cover. So I'm very, very stoked to have this one. And to me, Dr. Aphra is a perfect opportunity if they wanted to tell more stories within the Star Wars universe during kind of the Empire period without having to use the main people. Yes, Aphra's connected to Darth Vader, hence Vader number 3. But you could use Dr. Aphra as almost like an Indiana Jones and give her her own story. And to me, she's a fantastic character. And her murder droids are absolutely fantastic. So definitely give yourself the opportunity to check out this run. And if you happen to find this book for a fair price, pick it up, because if they do end up doing something with Dr. Aphra in live action, the value of this book is only going to go up. So it's awesome. I'm really, really stoked to have it in there. And again, these are my favorites. So if I keep saying I'm stoked, it's because they're my favorite books from Star Wars that I own. So I'm honestly just really, really excited about them. With that, let's get to book number 2. And the reason it's not number 1 is because it's more like a 1A and not a 2. But in top 5s, you have to have a number 2. So, number 2 in this run is Star Wars Heir to the Empire number 1. And most people probably recognize this book, if you're familiar, as a novel actually written by Timothy Zahn before it was a comic book. This is the adaptation of that novel. Definitely check out Timothy Zahn's work. He is fantastic. His canon Thrawn stuff is amazing. His obviously now non-canon stuff of Thrawn is also amazing. It's a really, really good book. And the reason this is important is it's the first appearance of Grand Admiral Thrawn. And he's fantastic. He appears in Rebels. He appears in Ahsoka. He is a fantastic character. And I absolutely love him because he's just a strategic person. And you're never really sure whether he's fully for the Empire, for himself, for the Chiss Ascendancy, which is where he's from, because he's actually from Wild Space. Fun fact. And this is the first appearance of him, and I happened to pick it up before Ahsoka came out. He was still rumored to be in the show, / around the time he was confirmed, I think I picked it up. Um, but I genuinely really love this cover. It's definitely 1A for my favorite books. It's awesome. So yeah, definitely go out of your way to read Timothy Zahn. Not necessarily maybe pick up that book, but read Timothy Zahn's Thrawn stuff. Ascendancy, Thrawn, the first Thrawn trilogy, which was it's technically the second because it's the canon, but it's first canon trilogy. Alliances, uh, and Treason, I believe, are the three in that one. So it's Thrawn Alliances, and Thrawn Treason. Check those out. They're fantastic. They're great reads. And you might even see some of your favorite characters in them. Spoiler: Anakin appears in the second one. But with that, and speaking of Anakin, sort of, my number one favorite Star Wars book in my whole collection has to be, without a shadow of a doubt, this one. I'm pausing for dramatic effect, just so you know. But no, the number one book in my collection from Star Wars is Star Wars: The Clone Wars #1. This came out in 2008, September 2008. It's the first appearance of Ahsoka Tano and Captain Rex, and this book is awesome. Like, it's one I never thought I would actually own in my collection. I love the cover of just Anakin and Ahsoka staring out at the Republic interceptors just going out to what looks to be a massive battle, and it's just this jarring thing. And when you compare that with the scenes from Ahsoka being like a 12-year-old in the midst of the Clone Wars, being responsible for her troops, like all of that, Ahsoka's a very, very powerful character, and I'm really stoked to have this first issue because, again, I never thought I'd have it. And I have to give a special shout out and thanks to my wife who got it for me for our 1 year wedding anniversary. So without her, I wouldn't have this book. Shout out to Nick's Comic Strip who sold us the book and hooked us up with a great deal on it for my 1 year anniversary gift from her. I wouldn't own it without both Nick's Comic Strip and my amazing wife. So obviously more credit to my amazing wife because I live with her. So always give your wife more credit, fellas. That's advice. Um, but yeah, I genuinely cannot believe I own this book, and it is my favorite in my collection. So if you made it to this far, maybe you're a Star Wars fan, maybe you're not. If you are, leave me a comment. Let me know what your favorite Star Wars comic or novel is. I love reading or audibling the actual books themselves and listening and reading those stories. And I love reading the comics too because it adds so much to the world. So, yeah, definitely leave a comment below letting me know your favorites, and I'll have to check them out. But that's it for this week. We'll catch you here next time at Whoosh.